Welcome to the Charleston Marketing Podcast, powered by the Charleston American Marketing Association and broadcasting from our home at Charleston Radio Group. Thanks to CRG, we're able to talk with the movers and shakers of Charleston, from economy to art, from hospitality to tech, and everything in between. These leaders have made a home here in the Lowcountry. They live here, they work here, they make change here. Why? Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome to the Charleston Marketing Podcast, powered by the Charleston American Marketing Association. We are recording at the Charleston Radio Group Studios, big supporters of CAMA. Got to give a shout out to Charleston's favorite DJ Jerry Feelsgood, with the beats at the beginning. And thanks to all our supporters. Mike Compton here, president of Roombo Advertising, GoRoombo.com, and your incoming president for the American Marketing Association. Glad to be here. I'm here with Stephanie. What's up, Steph? Say hello.
Hi, friend. How are you?
I'm well.
What's up, guys? I'm Stephanie Barrow, your immediate past president and the founder of Stephanie Barrow Consulting, a digital marketing strategy agency here in Charleston. We are excited to be here with a very special guest. I'm going to let Mike do the honors because he has a special relationship with Sean.
Oh, no, don't make it sound like that, for crying out loud.
Not that kind of
a special. Sean McMann.
We'll dive into
right
it. There we go.
Now.
We'll dive into the special relationship.
Leave it to a woman to make a.
Mike has fished off of the back of my boat. I think that's pretty special.
That's why I wear this fishing hat, because he knows how much of a fisherman I am not, and how much of a poser I am by wearing this
fish?
hat. It was more of a boat ride.
Okay,
I feel like,
nice.
Sean.
Nice.
Yeah,
Than a
it was a
fishing
boat
trip.
ride posing as a fishing trip.
I like it. Did you catch anything?
No, we just
A
said it was
nice-
a boat ride.
A nice globe.
Did you at least throw the pole and hold the reel?
Yeah, we threw the pole. Jeez Louise.
We did.
Let's go ahead and go into Sean's bio, shall we, Sean? I'm throwing you under the bus here, Sean. I'm in your LinkedIn.
Okay.
Can I read some of this? Because this is amazing. This is
Sure.
like the best LinkedIn about me I've ever read. Stephanie was saying
I
the
learned a
same.
lot about you just by reading your LinkedIn profile.
He gave us a bunch of
That's
bullet
great.
points that aren't nearly as cool.
Not nearly
what
as
I'm about to read.
compelling as so.
I'm putting him on the spot.
Everyone follow him on LinkedIn and then read his about
Sean
section.
McMann. Yep, on LinkedIn. The best thing he says about Sean is you can't. No, wait. Let me start over. The best thing you can say to Sean is that he can't. There's no better gift than your disbelief in my ability to succeed, in his ability to succeed. As a child, he was told you can't defend yourself, so he learned Judo and became a state champion,
That's awesome.
an Olympic hopeful. Well, that's pretty
That's awesome.
timely, isn't it, Sean?
Yes, it is.
Well, how far did you go? I mean,
I was asked to go to Colorado Springs to train. They take you there for a training time. It's several weeks. And then after that, you get the opportunity to try and become a member of the team.
and obviously you tried.
I wasn't selected for the
Yeah.
team. This is a sad story.
Oh, okay, good.
I didn't actually get to go
Right.
because my instructor had fallen in love with a woman.
Oh, okay.
And he had 2 tickets. He was a
You got ace
referee,
Okay.
and I lost my seat.
Oh,
Bros
guess
over
that
hoes.
happens.
So
baby.
that
Bros
was
over
actually a
hoes.
crushing moment and the end of my judo career until I got to Japan, where that was reignited, of course, because I was surrounded by it.
and you were in Japan because of your military career. Can you talk a little bit about that? Thank you for your.
Yeah, so I joined after trying to be an actor, which is really tough, from Lansing, Michigan.
Oh, that's right. Yes, Lansing, Michigan.
I got
fellow
tired of
Michigander.
being in what they call industrial films, which is basically a glorified training film.
Yes,
It's not a hotbed of
Car commercial or
film production up there.
car training.
This is fun.
And then I tried out by videotape for the role of Private Joker in a movie called Full Metal Jacket.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
I love Full
Okay.
Metal Jacket.
Everybody loves Full Metal
And
Jacket. Joker. Okay.
so I was hopeful that I would be called up to audition for that part, but there were thousands and thousands of people sending videos in.
Sure.
So then I joined the Air Force, and they asked me, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Do you have actors in the Air Force?"
And they said,
And they said, "No, this recruiter was very good." He said, "No, but I have something close. Hold on a second." And he went and got a brochure for Armed Forces Radio and Television, which is a global network
okay.
where you can be on camera and you can be a disc jockey and you can do commercials.
That
And
was good.
he was very slick and signed me up on the spot. And then he said, well, where would you prefer to be stationed? We can't guarantee you your choice, but where would you like to be? I said, where's as far away from here as possible? And he went over to the globe, and here's Lansing, Michigan. He spun it around, and he goes, Tokyo, Japan?
Oh, my God.
What a cool cat.
I said, it sounds fantastic. Let's go.
You hated Lansing, Michigan that much, or just enough of Lansing, Michigan? That you had to go to the opposite end of the world?
So when I was in Lansing...
I lived there for a while, so I get it.
Yeah, well, in the
Never
80s,
been,
in the 70s and 80s, Lansing, Michigan, my hometown, was a boom town because of the auto industry.
Okay.
I mean, cars were everything, and they built like the Oldsmobile Cutlass, which doesn't exist today. That was built by many of my friends and family. And
Interesting.
so it's not that I had a problem with the city. I just felt like I wanted to go find bigger challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that doing a risky thing like going as far away from here as possible would force me to look at the world through a different lens.
I love it.
Certainly did.
But
Yeah.
I'm sure your mom was pleased on that decision.
Oh, by the way,
Oh.
I was in broadcasting school after I was after I joined the military. You have to go to school, of course, to learn how to do things like run radio boards and cameras and all that kind of
Right,
stuff.
right.
While I was in school, I got a call from my sister in the day room of my dormitory. And this guy said, your sister's really upset. She needs you on the phone. And I thought, oh, my God, something's wrong with my mom or dad.
Oh, dear,
Or something's going on. I get on the phone, and she says, Mom keeps telling this guy you're in the military, but I think you need to know. Some guy named Stanley Kubrick keeps calling here.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
And I think it's got something to do with that thing you were trying out for. I said, do you have a number or anything? She said, no. So I snuck.
Did you know who Stanley Kubrick was at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I didn't know how established he was at this
the,
moment.
The book Full Metal Jacket is an adaptation of the movie is an adaptation of a book by the title of, I think it's called The Basic Training of Private Pavlo Hummel or something like that. I had read that. I sent in a video audition. I borrowed Fatigue's uniform from my buddy who was in the National Guard, and he painted my face and did all this stuff. And then I forgot about it. But she reminded me that this guy keeps calling the house every night, and Mom keeps saying you're in the military. And so I snuck out of military school and
As
went
one
to the
would.
bank,
Snuck
got a
out,
bag
right.
full of quarters because that's how you made phone calls back then. Went to a phone booth and shoved in quarters. AT&T picks up. I said, I'm trying to reach Warner Brothers Studios, London, which is where they were shooting the movie.
You're calling Stanley from a phone, from a payphone?
And that'll be so many more quarters, please. And then Warner Brothers picks up. I said, I'm trying to reach Stanley Kubrick. This is Sean McMann. I'm like, they're not going to know who I am. She says, one moment. And
Just transfer.
I get his assistant. I remember this guy's name, Leon Vitale. And he gets on the phone and he says, hello, Sean. You're a hard bugger to get a hold of. And he said, Stanley wants to see you in New York next week. And I said, I don't think I can get out of the military. I'm actually in the real military now. Yeah. This has been a year.
Yeah.
You guys have been blanking around with this.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think I can get out of the military for an audition. He said, no, mate, it's not an audition. You're a private joker. He wants to start.
Oh my
He
God.
wants to start table reads next week in New York.
Oh wow.
True story.
Okay. You know what? I've never heard these stories by the
So-
way, people. I've had multiple lunches with Sean, and these are all new stories
Yeah.
every time I see him.
I'm a movie fanatic, and
Yeah.
okay.
So I
Continuing.
went to my first sergeant after reading the Air Force manual, and there's a thing called a 120-day out clause.
Okay.
Back then there was, where it didn't work out for you, we can call it fair, and you go your way, I
okay.
go mine, but it has to happen within 120 days. Well, I had counted up the days, and it was like right on the edge. And I went to my first sergeant and said, do you guys count weekends against this?
Okay.
He said, son, there's no weekends in the Air Force. Every day's a duty day. Get out of my office. And that was the end of my
No, you couldn't take the part.
No,
Did you tell him who wanted to cast you?
they didn't care.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
I signed in blood. I had to. Go ahead.
Oh,
But it's all good
you
because
did your service.
yeah. But then I went to Tokyo, Japan, and I made more money on the weekends as an actor.
What? Now, why were you acting in Tokyo?
Because it was his passion. That's
So
cool.
you were doing commercials. So you were big in Japan.
Yeah,
That's
I got
a
an
real thing.
agent, and they farmed me out every weekend. I'd show up at the train platform. They'd hand me a big packet of money, tell me where I was going. Someone would meet me at the other end, and I get paid mad money for saying like Sapporo,
Oh, okay.
Now, on
What does that mean?
do you have
a beer.
like a highlight reel living somewhere on YouTube that I can watch?
I know. We need to.
No, and that's another story. We have a guy in Crete, Greece. His name is affectionately Leon degauser.
Okay.
So degausing is the process of, I don't think you even do it anymore. If you want to reuse an audio or videotape, you have to run it through this magnet thing that erases everything.
Oh, Brian, you aware of this?
Yeah. And a kid in Greece, summer worker, just loaded my entire book of my work, all of my work, and degaused it all. I have a few tapes at the house in Johns.
On purpose?
No, he didn't know what he was doing.
Oh,
He's
my
the degauser.
Lord.
That's what he does.
So, yeah, but that's okay because you know what? Life is interesting. I generally find that there, inside of every insurmountable challenge, there is an opportunity if you're just able to remain open to that possibility.
Love it. Absolutely. No, that's why you and I started connecting, because you have so many great stories. And then you have in television, you were told that you can't be a writer, and you have no journalism degree. So you became an Emmy-nominated writer, editor, and producer. What were those?
That was my last hurrah. After I left CNN, I joined a production company in Atlanta called Image Master, and they were commissioned by Scottish Rite Hospitals to write and produce and air an hour-long documentary. And the thing that attracted me to it was that it was called The Parenting Principle.
Oh, okay.
But when we met with them, they said, we don't want a how to parent documentary. We want a why to parent documentary.
Ooh. Interesting. That's interesting.
And I thought, you got me.
Yeah, you got me.
And so I had to write that,
Mm-hmm.
edit it, shoot much of it, produce much of it.
So this is post CNN. How long were you at CNN for?
7 years.
7 years. This is
Started
circa what?
Started as a floor director, pointing at cameras and stuff
in New York?
in Atlanta.
Atlanta, okay.
And you know, then that job was a 5-year step backwards for me, because when I left the Armed Forces Broadcasting, I was already an executive producer level guy.
Sure.
But again, there's opportunity if you're just willing to suck it up and grind, right? So I started as a floor director. I started during the first Gulf War. One of my first jobs that got me out of floor directing was that none of the people on camera knew what a military plane was or a military rank was or any of this stuff. So I literally had the job of standing in A control in Atlanta with an IB, whatever they call those things in your ear. And I would talk to the person on the desk, and they would roll video, for instance, of an Air Force cargo plane rolling out on the runway.
Yeah.
And I would say, that's a C-141. It's a cargo plane used by the Air Force to transport both gear and military personnel. Yeah. What you're looking at here is a C-141. You know, it's used primarily.
You were their brains. I love it.
Those guys loved me because they all sounded so smart. But and that was an important thing, because all of a sudden, like literally overnight, everyone had to be able to speak eloquently about what was on the screen, and what was on the screen was
100%.
all military stuff. So it was just an opportunity for
It's a lot of responsibility
More video.
to get that right.
I'm sorry?
It's a lot of responsibility to get that right.
It was easy for me, like
Right.
I lived it for 5 years. For them, it was a massive
Yeah.
learning curve, so it was smart of them to have this guy parroting, talking in their ear all day.
Right. So then that took you to what? And wait a second. CNN. Is there a story about your wife being connected to CNN too?
She joined CNN before I did. We met in military broadcasting school.
So she's a military background too.
Yeah, and she actually ran HR for CNN.com when it launched.
Oh, okay, cool. There
She
you go.
was hiring people like mad.
Very
all
early
the time.
stages of CNN.
Yeah, the dot-com era was explosive for the media world. And CNN hopped on that dot-com train pretty early and pretty aggressively. I remember she was hiring people from all over the world.
I'm sure.
To rapidly get developer talent in there to do.
And I'm sorry, your wife's name was again?
Catherine McMann.
Shout out to Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
Hello, Catherine. I'm sure you're listening, I would hope.
She won't understand. Her name is Sweetie.
Oh, I love this man. That's good.
You got her.
That's what the family calls her.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, there you go. Hello, Sweetie. Shout out
Hello,
to
sweetie.
And then so you go from CNN, and then here's I'm just going pit by pit off of your about here. And then business, you were told that you can't raise money and start a company with no business degree, and so you did that with no business degree. So you're not getting any degrees. What degree did you get? Military.
Well, I do have a degree. It's in broadcast journalism.
Broadcast
I think
journalism.
It's called. But it was put together hodgepodge. I paid for it, but I took night school in Crete and in Japan, and kind of fit schooling in between what was generally a 12-hour plus day.
And the acting on the weekends.
Yeah, but the business thing was I was in the media world.
Mm-hmm.
The dot-com explosion was occurring in the late 90s. And my job at that time was coordinating producer for CNN News Features, which if you watched CNN on the weekend in the 90s, you've seen my work.
Okay.
Like there was something like 16 programs that were created by that group and basically produced.
I'm immediately going to look you up on IMDb after this.
Yeah, sure.
You won't
do it right now.
I will find you.
But so I started thinking about video because what I did at CNN was we verticalized video. We took old content,
Mm-hmm.
like health content,
Yeah.
or technology content, or travel content.
That was the weekend content that you were producing, right?
Yeah, but it was largely repurposed from this massive vault that they had,
Mm-hmm.
where we would go down there, pull out all the best food shows, extract the best parts of them, get a new person to be on camera,
Right.
freshen it up with new graphics and music and animation.
Yeah, exactly.
And then target it better to a target audience that would be wanting to consume that kind of content. And that's what you wanted on the weekend. You wanted not so heavy news content.
Right.
So that group, CNN News Features, did very well. They generated a lot of money over the weekend, and it was from simply repurposing and retargeting existing content we'd already made the investment in producing. So it opened it made a light bulb go on my head, like, what if we combined the data collection capabilities of this new thing called the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and we could target even more surgically this content and put it directly on the laptop or the desktop of people for whom it is highly relevant. Well, this made me not able to sleep.
This is circa what year are we right now?
97, 98-ish.
Yeah.
And then, I downloaded a business plan template, Word document from the internet, and wrote a bunch of stuff. And I think that took me it was like 45, 50 pages long.
But you had to write those pages too. There was no Google back then. There was no
No.
AI.
No AI.
And how did
prompting
you
back
get
then.
it to the masses? Were you just going door to door? Were you
No. There was an angel investor who was a member of my church in Atlanta.
Okay.
He saw my show that we were just talking about, the
Mhm.
Emmy-winning show.
Yep.
And he pulled up alongside of me in his convertible, and he said, "Hey, you produced that thing I saw last night. That was fantastic." He goes, "Will you have lunch with me? I'm thinking of an internet business, and I need a video guy."
You're like, done.
So this
Isn't that the way relationships just steer your life in one
Yeah.
crazy way? That is
Yeah.
so cool.
What
this was
was the
a
name?
fantastic gentleman. He was worth a lot of money, and he was willing to throw a lot of it at creating.
He believed in you that much.
Well, no, he had all he had was an idea that video and the internet were going to be big.
He was right.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's
right.
doing quite well right now.
And so I wrote the business plan. He hooked up pitch meetings with every VC across the country. We went on a road show, wore me out, trying to get investment for this. And on the last meeting, I basically was exhausted, and I said, I'm tired of telling this story. Like, if you don't get it, you don't get it. And that's the group that ultimately invested in us. So
That's a cool
What was the name of the company?
company was called Media First.
Media First. You had a story about, is that right around the time you met Mark Cuban?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah.
So back then, Mark Cuban wasn't the Mark Cuban you know today. He was a dynamic, and he had a company called broadcast.com.
And that was like, are you competing at this
Not
time?
really. We were in the same space, but broadcast.com was fairly genius at the time, and it was born out of the thing that births most great technology. Frustration is a great catalyst for ideas. So his frustration was that he and his team were sports fans, and they were geographically distant from their favorite sports teams. And it started with a question: what if we could use the internet to help people listen to their favorite sports team from across the country?
Right.
And that was the birth of broadcast.com, which was genius. I thought it was amazing.
And that was
And then
his big endeavor, his first big endeavor, wasn't it, Mark Cuban?
Yeah, and then he sold that to Yahoo for something like $7 billion. And
Right. But you were in the
Bought
more of
some
the
sports teams.
video than he would then.
I was replicating what I had done in broadcasting on the internet. So we built studios on Peachtree Street in the center of Atlanta. We did a partnership with UPI, United Press International, or AP, I can't remember which. I did a deal with them whereby they gave me free content because I didn't have content. I didn't have the stories.
Yeah. Okay.
You give me the stories, I will make them video stories. I will package them up. I did a deal with another company called iSyndicate, which was the largest syndicator of text-based content back then. And I said, you have no video. Let's bundle this up into syndicated packages of video content that, for instance, are about travel that we could put on a travel website and increase the stickiness of the travel website.
Right.
Stickiness was a big deal back then. But people bounced a lot.
Still is.
So it all just happened. It was so we did create those packages, and we did sell syndicated packages of vertically focused content.
How many people were on your team at this time? Just you and the angel investor?
No. I mean, I think we hired 75 people.
Dang.
We did some really smart stuff, like when we got the lease on the building, we made sure it was in the Mindspring building, which at the time was an ISP that was getting a lot of national attention, and we thought we would be smart to co-locate with them. But we also negotiated for roof rights to the building,
Yeah. You said
and
that.
ultimately we made enough money to cover our rent by renting the roof space to satellite receiving dishes.
That's smart.
Stuff. And then we had built an encoding farm, and we built a way to lock onto any transponder in the sky and stream it. No one had this back then.
So like, this is 98.
Yeah, and so people like local TV stations were hiring us to grab stuff off of their satellites and stream it to their websites. And we didn't really have it all figured out.
I'm curious about the data, and
We were just trying to be part of the process of taking this content and getting it to the screens.
Yeah, and that's where my question comes into play: is how are you compressing this to make it work?
Massive
within the
silicon
bandwidth?
graphics and OptiBase encoder arrays.
I'm sorry, what?
What?
Can
you repeat it?
It took so much hardware back then, and luckily we negotiated that our electric would be covered in our rent. But
Okay.
after we inked the deal for that, we built massive server farms, and those suck a lot of energy.
You really set yourself up for success.
I think we were
Smart.
Honestly, I think we were lucky. I don't think we were so savvy that we saw that coming. We were just greedy. And $10 million, even back then, wasn't a lot of money. I mean, you can burn through $10 million in technology
I did yesterday.
in a minute.
I didn't.
So
really.
it was only an effort to stretch our dollars. But again, these challenges are what reveal to you the true level of possibility in your life. I think some people look at a challenge and they walk away and they avoid it because it's painful. But on the other side of that pain is sometimes some very special stuff to discover about what you're capable of, what your friends and peers are capable of. a massive challenge doesn't have to be the end of the story. It's just the end of a chapter in a book.
Right, exactly. And then you say you can't is a fire starter for you. You just kind of like, that's just the.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell me I can't. And then
It's a gift. It's a gift to me personally. My son is exactly the same way.
Is he now? And your son was a college athlete?
He was a pro athlete.
Pro.
Wow. What does he play?
He was a tennis phenom. He set a state record in Georgia that I don't think will ever be beaten. He was never beaten once in singles or doubles in his entire 4 years.
What's his name?
Connor McMann.
Connor McMann. Okay.
He's a technology sales guy in Atlanta. He's doing very well. I'm super proud of him. But
What's up, Connor? Shout out to you, buddy.
But luckily, I could. He saw me dealing with these things.
These challenges.
I didn't
Exactly.
preach to him on how do you navigate life. He saw all of this stuff. His bedroom was right next to my office, and so.
Oh, you were the OG work from home?
Yeah, I was working from home in the early 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
but he heard me for decades on sales calls.
Sure.
And so, what does he do today? He sells
He's
stuff.
doing the same thing.
Stephanie, what's up, man? You got any questions?
Yeah.
for Sean?
I'm in awe. I think you live.
I know, right?
You live like 16 lives.
Feel like it.
Which is very interesting.
So
I have friends who. It's funny. I have friends. I have one friend that's hilarious. Every time somebody will ask me a question, and he'll say, "This is not going to be true story. He's making this up."
No.
But yeah, I've been blessed. I've bounced around some incredibly weird situations, and I think life is just a huge book full of chapters. And I don't try to predetermine what the next chapter should be.
Right.
Sometimes it's just being receptive to the possibility that it's going to be okay. Tony Robbins said in his book Personal Power, something to the effect of if there is a strong enough why, the hows will present themselves.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
I think a lot of people focus on how every day, but they don't take time to sit alone and to question
The wise.
why.
I can't imagine having a career that spans all of these very pivotal decades in our marketing in the video field, to go from the .com era to now, and now we're graduating into the AI generation. It's just such a cool journey you've been on.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your favorite part of that journey?
We're not done with the journey yet, though.
No, I know.
Let's
I'm
get
just-
into Charleston before we talk about.
No, I think it's really neat to have all those different experiences, not even just be a part of it, but be a main part of the technology as it just goes throughout all the years. It's pretty cool.
I think the AI stuff recently has. I posted on LinkedIn a story to the effect of AI is bringing back memories. I think that's what I called the post,
AI is bringing back memories.
which would create a big question mark in most people's minds, and hopefully they would read it. But it was a comparison between the pivotal impact that nonlinear video editing had in around the 1993 or 4 time frame. The life-changing impact that technology had on the broadcast industry is very similar to me as the current AI rush. The impact that AI is going to have on media in general is going to be very similar to that. In 1993, a company called Avid dropped off a thing called a media composer, which was a computer video editor at our offices in Atlanta.
Avid's the top of the line, pro.
Yeah.
Edit,
Nonlinear
post-pro.
editing, computer editing. But you have to remember that computer editing was foreign to all 50 of my friends who were full-time video editors. I think they had 50 per shift, and there were 3 shifts. So we're churning through this videotape. And if you could be fast at it, great. And then they invented a thing called the CMX machine, which would allow you to type a bunch of commands and tell all these video machines to do what they needed to do. But it was still linear. It was from start to finish.
That's cool.
It took about 3 minutes of a really good editor's time to edit 1 minute of final product. And if you extrapolate that over an hour, we're talking about a lot of time to get to that final product, and there was no way around it. Well, they dropped off this pallet full of this equipment. No one wanted to use it. I worked the mid shift at the time. I asked my boss, "What is that?" He told me what it was.
You
and
said you can't open it up.
"Are you going to evaluate it?" He goes, "Nobody wants to touch it." I said, "Can I?" He said, "Sure. Just do it on your lunch hour." Okay. So I spent my lunch hour, which is like 2 a.m., for like a week. And keep in mind, I knew nothing about computers at the time.
Okay.
It took me a week just to hook up the pieces and parts and push the button and make the screen come on. But the moment that I figured out how to ingest video from a tape machine to a computer hard drive, to have a representative icon on the screen, a thumbnail, I mean, my heart was beating.
You probably said, this is something huge.
Yeah. And I captured 5 or 6 clips, and then this is the aha moment. They had a lasso function where you could lasso those clips, drag them down, and let go, and they would assemble themselves in the timeline.
Yeah.
And that piece of equipment was in the main newsroom of CNN, and there was a live show going on at that time. They were reporting the news. Well, they didn't have a glass wall behind them. It was open.
Okay.
I threw up my hands, and I said, "I've just seen the future. Game over." That's what I said. And I got hushed by the director.
I'm sure you're live.
I got reprimanded, I think, a little bit too, but I could not sleep after that.
Right.
And I told my friends, this is the future.
This is
going to happen. There's no,
well, you were an early adopter. Probably a lot of
stop it.
people were thinking they're taking their jobs away
Well, it's the same exact feeling that people have today.
with AI. Yeah.
And my point is, you either embrace the new technology,
Get on the train or get off.
or you could lose
Time to
your
retire.
job. I saw 50 or so of my peers lose their jobs
I'm sure.
because they would not embrace the idea of editing video on a computer. Everything about editing to them had been tactile, and many of them learned how to edit on film with a razor blade.
Yeah.
And to ask them to now click a mouse to edit video was outside their realm of comprehension. And they
I
just
can
said,
see that.
"I can't do this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think AI is a similar pivotal flashpoint moment, no doubt. And there's going to be a bunch of people who will win by embracing it and contemplating how it could indeed improve their lives, and understand that it doesn't have to be replacing your job. It could augment your ability to do a better job.
Have you seen any AI
Exactly.
videos that look authentic and just realistic, or do you? I mean, I don't see a lot of that. Everything is just futuristic and
It's there today.
okay.
You're talking about AI avatars.
Yes.
There's a handful of companies competing in that space.
Yep.
It takes massive amounts of processing power to do what you're talking about, which is, yes, you can create an AI avatar, but can that AI avatar be indiscernible to your friends? The answer is yes, it can. It exists today.
Well, hold on.
That's scary.
So we're at you built the company, you sold it. How'd you get out of your media first? What's the name of your business you built?
Media First.
Media First, yes.
Yeah, I was asked not too politely to leave the company.
Okay, so that was part of your journey, and then what was next?
Well, next that was in 2001.
Yeah.
Not a good year to be unemployed.
No.
That's when I came out of college.
The whole thing blew up. .com bomb happened. And I had lots of friends who were recruiters. And I thought it was going to be kind of a cakewalk to find my next
You would think.
gig.
Yeah, you would think.
What I found was that 6 months later, I was still thinking, I wish this was a cakewalk.
Yeah.
There were no jobs on job boards back then. There was literally nothing, and I was burning through my 401k to support my family.
How old are your kids at this
Because I was going to be an internet millionaire,
Right.
I had already put a down payment on and signed for a new home in the northern Atlanta suburbs, which we affectionately refer to as the McMansion.
Okay.
But I also couldn't get rid of my previous home.
Oh,
That's
dear.
tough. That's
My
tough.
children were involved in really expensive sports and scholastic activities. and my
How old
wife
were
was
they?
on the verge of tears.
How old were they then?
Oh, they were young.
Yeah.
They were, that would have been, 4 to 7 years old.
Phew.
So Sweetie asked me, what are we going to do? And I said, we're going to act like nothing happened. I'm going to make it
That's all
my
you can
job
do.
to get a job.
Mhm.
I'm going to get dressed in my job clothes. The kids are not going to know anything about this, and we're going to get through this. And it took months. And finally I said to myself, if I keep trying to do this the way everyone else is trying to do this, I'm going to continue to get the same result.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, I literally made cold calls to C-suite people in technology companies that I thought I could have a marked bottom line impact for.
Right. Yeah.
I literally made business proposals for each one of these companies, outlining exactly what they were doing wrong that I thought I could fix, what the outcomes would be by hiring me versus their current state, why I felt so passionate about my unique ability to do this, basically sold myself to the C-suite. And that went on for about a month, and I got called to St. Louis and hired by a company called Global Streams.
Global Streams. Okay.
And it was fantastic. I was with them for several years as
Did
well.
you have to move to St. Louis?
Nope.
What?
You really did. Was an early adopter working from home.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, well, it was to their advantage. They had a regionally distributed sales force,
Sure.
and they needed someone for the Southeast
There
region.
you are.
Everything kind of lined up. But again, the point is, if you don't let setbacks crush you, and you can maintain a long game mentality, I've found that the sweetest things in life are on the other side of that pain.
Yep.
I don't know what that rule is, but I think
There's no rule about it. It's
it
just
is a
what
rule.
it is.
I think it is a rule.
I mean, yeah.
I'm going to listen to this podcast later, and I'm going to write things down on index
Yeah.
cards, and I'm going to put them on my desk
guy-
as my daily reminder.
Telling you. We'll get into that later.
I
though.
love-
We'll
I
get into
love
more
the
of,
way that
more of
you
why
look at
Sean
life.
is so special here later. When does Cultura come into play?
So in, I don't know the exact dates, but before Kaltura, I worked for a company called Uyala. And Uyala was acquired by an Australian company called Telstra. Telstra is basically the AT&T of Australia, massive company.
Okay.
They bought Uyala, and I left Uyala in 2014, or I'm in my 8th year with Kaltura, which is longer than I've ever worked for a technology company.
Right. Okay.
And it's actually longer than I've ever worked for any
I was
company.
going to say you must be liking it. You must love it.
Kaltura, I came to Kaltura after doing a 90-day due diligence on the industry as a whole, because I was tired of moving every 3 or 4 years. And I wanted to find something different. And the reason I'm at Kaltura today from a technology perspective is the same reason that I came to Kaltura. In the online video world, most online video platforms are built from the user interface backwards. And that means they all look kind of the same to a customer, which is dangerous. So they build this very sexy user interface. It's very slick, very cool. The problem is when you're selling video technology to the Fortune 500, large government agencies, large universities, pharma companies, financial services behemoths, what becomes more important than the actual video itself is your ability to do things like secure the video,
Yes.
preclude pirating of the video, preclude non-approved sharing of the video, integrate with myriad of third-party technological pieces and parts, potentially not only integrate with those other pieces of technology, but amplify their value in the process. These are like afterthoughts for most players in the video content management space. For Kaltura, it was music to my ears to learn that they built their entire platform in the opposite direction. Let's think about the complicated, hard stuff behind the curtain first and build from a foundation of APIs forward to the user interface. Kaltura, instead of being a box product that you need to fit your problem into and perhaps change the way you do things to accommodate the new box product, it's a series of building blocks that you can rearrange in any order that suits your desired outcome, which may be very unique when compared to even another marketing group.
Yeah, I would love to look at the back end of this.
It's some deep blue technology stuff that has risen them to, I would say they're the predominant video content management solutions company on the planet. And then in the last few years, they've had to broaden their ability to solve problems with video by moving into the events space.
Okay.
And again, that's the result of a challenge, the challenge being the pandemic.
Right.
We could have used you when we did our Spark Awards virtually. So we did it here. We have the Spark Awards, which is our the elite marketing awards for the Charleston area. And we had to do it virtually during the pandemic. And we did it at our station and that kind of thing and streamed it through Zoom. And there were so many issues with it.
So Zoom is fantastic. It's interesting if you want to segue into the whole pandemic thing.
Segue away.
The pandemic for me was a flashpoint moment that personally I had been waiting for since I wrote that business plan in 1998.
Okay. All right.
So
not hoping for this, but just kind of this.
Yeah, I don't mean to sound morbid, but I have said several times during this conversation, there's opportunity hidden in challenge. Yeah, the pandemic was a global challenge, but it was also an opportunity from the video world's perspective. What happened was in March of 2020, usage of platforms like Kaltura, Zoom, Blue Jeans, GoToMeeting, all of them just exploded.
Right.
In 20 days, this exploded. Multiples of usage. And when people ask me about it, I say my opinion is that at that time, most of the Fortune 500, they made tactical moves to solve what was a strategic problem. And by that I mean we don't have any time, so instead of going out and finding a way to do this right with video, just maximize the licenses that we have with our existing tools like Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Blue Jeans, and all of the usual players. And what ensued was around a 2 to 2.5 year self-imposed proof of concept that was music to my ears, quite frankly. Why? Because before the pandemic, and I know this because I've been selling the same technology for decades, video was often seen as a utility function. During the pandemic, during that self-imposed proof of concept, very smart people in all of these companies started seeing some trends like, why do we have 6 different video-related platforms on our budget? That's a meeting product posing as an events platform.
Yep.
But they didn't know these things until they started trying to push the boundaries of their abilities from these different applications. So for me, that's why I say it was sort of a gift of a moment, because what it did was it sharpened the focus and brought the lens closer for higher level people in these organizations to understand that, yes, video is now a business critical data type. It is not a utility. It needs more serious consideration when we talk about how we're going to better communicate, market, and train these people that are in our employ, how we can get them to collaborate more effectively, how we can make them feel more connected to our messaging. It opened up a whole new world of conversations with my prospects and customers who are now like thinking about video strategically, not just tactically, not just trying to solve the next problem, but move the needle on the bottom line for the corporation. These are much more fun conversations for me personally. It's a boom time. And at the same time, you see the players in this space are consolidating. So it's the number of choices are reducing over time. And those that are most formidable will bubble to the top. I believe that Kaltura is the most formidable provider in this space, which is why I'm still here 8 years later.
Yeah.
But I think that for me, it's been the enjoyable outcome of a not so enjoyable few years is a higher level of acumen among leadership in digital marketing, internal communications, unified communications, HR. And they're thinking about how video can move the needle to remove problems in onboarding.
Yes.
How
I can see
video
that.
can be used to reduce customer churn. How video can be used to provide ready access to information in a person's native language with the least amount of steps, so that they can be more effective in their job, so they can contribute to the bottom line. So it's taken a long time. I was involved with video when it was in its infancy on the web, for instance.
Yeah.
And we used to sit there and go, well, one day someone's going to care about this, but they didn't then, really.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many times I used to work in Nashville with musicians where we'd have to use Facebook Live and even sell tickets to like a Facebook Live event, and it would not be working.
Yeah.
They would just be spinning and spinning, and your phone is just ringing, and you're just stuck praying that technology will get it together because of. It's wonderful that there's so many that you're providing so many different solutions for businesses, because, like you said, they can be used for a variety of things.
Yeah.
How many people? So when you use your platform, like how many people can watch at one time?
So this is a good topic, scale.
Yeah.
Scale. I don't think your average consumer understands how big of a bandwidth hog a video file is. I think we're teetering on just going over. We're sitting somewhere between 80 and 85% of all internet traffic today is video.
80?
Yeah.
Over
80.
Over 80.
That seems very accurate to me.
So you've got armies of people.
People are just exploding on TikTok and just watching reel after reel after reel on Instagram. No one's reading anything anymore.
Yeah, well, fully 50% of our nation in the U.S. is millennials and Gen Z.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Gen X. These folks are the first generations who have grown up with ready access to content. And the content that they have trained themselves to prefer is video, of course. This is why it is the predominant data type on all of the social media platforms. In 5 years, I doubt you'll see any text on Twitter or X. I think it's just going to be a massive trove of video messaging,
If you see anything.
video posting.
Yeah. If it
The reason is because video is a content type that I can consume, and if I'm a user on social media, I'm getting a dopamine hit every time I'm seeing these videos because they're inspiring emotion in me. It affects a human being the way text just can't.
It really does.
But they prefer it. But they prefer it for other reasons, like the number of people consuming content on YouTube to learn how to fix a washing machine.
That's me.
Is off the charts.
Yeah.
I was watching them last night on how to wallpaper a ceiling.
I Google.
Let's face it, you can only learn certain things through seeing it done.
Right.
Exactly.
And the research shows that if you watch a video versus read a manual, you retain upwards of 80% of that content versus 10%.
And then you can rewind and watch that part again, and rewind and watch that part again. It's very useful.
Yeah.
So that's why I think we may have a long runway in front of us as far as applications for impacting the world in a positive way with video content.
100%. You impacted the world, and we have 9 more minutes until 2:00, so we got to wrap it up a little bit. But you impacted your tiny world right now. So now you're in Johns Island.
Yeah.
And you had went to a farmer's market, right?
Yeah.
This is how much he's kind of embraced the different technologies, right? Starting from tape, moving into digital, and now just simply, what did you do for this gentleman on your cell phone? And you just kind of cut something up and...
Yeah, I think I shared that story with you when we were fishing. It's a wonderful story.
Yeah, local Johns Island. Like, he just moved here not too long ago.
Yep. There's a place called Fields Farm
Yes.
which is an outstanding place on Johns Island on River Road where you can go to the farm and buy locally sourced stuff, not just vegetables and fruit, but locally sourced meat, duck eggs, and things like that. He's got a bunch of local vendors contribute to what he has on the shelves at Fields Farm. And it happens to be an eighth of a mile down the road from my house.
Okay.
And I'm a big advocate of clean eating, and I'm on the paleo diet and all that kind of stuff. So I want to buy my stuff. I want to make sure it's fresh and unencumbered by pesticides and things that I can.
Yeah.
And I don't mind contributing. I'd rather contribute to a local person trying to grind their way through that than the big chains. So I went down there on a Saturday, and I walked in. On a Saturday, I walked in, and I was the only person in there for a long time. And as I was checking out, I said to this gentleman, what's going on here, man? Were you not supposed to be open today?
Yeah.
He goes, what do you mean? And I said, no one's here but me. And I had been there a couple of times before, and I recalled that I think I was the only one in there. I said, this place is fantastic. Everybody should know about it. They're building houses all around you. Hundreds and hundreds of houses, thousands of people are moving in. Everybody should know about you. And he confessed that he was so busy that he never got around to doing any marketing. And I said, well, do you have a Facebook page? He said, yeah. I have like my niece posting to it every once in a while.
Right.
I said, listen, you need video. Like, you need video. I said, I will come here and meet you on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I can do this with 10 minutes of your time. I just need to interview you for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I need your permission to roam around and shoot some B-roll.
Right.
I'm going to do this with my phone
Yep.
and a little lavalier microphone.
Little did he know you've been doing this since 1955. I mean, 1970.
I told him, I said, I know what I'm doing. Well, he agreed. He goes, that sounds great. And I said, then I need access to your Facebook page because I want to post it on Facebook. I'm going to create you a series of videos. They're not even advertisements. We weren't even going to buy ads.
You're just telling a story.
No.
Just posting to your page.
Yeah.
Let's just see what happens. I said, look, you can't lose anything. He said, well, how much is this going to cost me? And I said, nothing. I don't even want you to discount my duck eggs. I just
want you to stay in business so I can come be a patron.
No, literally, that's kind of what we talked about. And
Yeah.
so he showed up the next Sunday morning, and he was late, and he seemed flustered. I said, you okay? He said, yeah, I just got in an argument with my family. They say you must have an alternative agenda because nobody does this kind of thing for free.
Okay.
Aw.
And I said, well, would you like to prove them wrong? I said, look, there's lots of other things I could be doing on a Sunday, but I told you I'd be here. I'm here. Let's go. He did a great job, by the way. Devon is his name. He's outstanding. And he runs that place like a well-oiled machine. And he speaks passionately about it because he knows the history of the farm and all of this stuff. So I said, I just want to talk about some stuff. It's not going to be salesy. I want the community to know you, to know why you're here, how you got here. What is your hope for the impact of your farm on the local community? These kinds of things. We did that, sat down, edited it on iMovie.
Sure. I can't figure iMovie out, but go ahead.
Created a series, posted it.
That's nuts.
And I've posted this to LinkedIn as well. I took screenshots of his chats to me. One was, we just had the #1 sales day of the history of this farm.
That's amazing.
One came a couple of months later.
He's texting you this?
Yeah, came a couple of months later. He said, we just closed out the #1 quarter in the history of this farm. The #1 month of sales in the history of this farm. And I'm like, if that doesn't prove to you how impactful, well-targeted video stories can be, I don't know what to tell you. I have the analytics from his Facebook. It blew up. It blew up. And again, we didn't buy any ad space. We just asked people to share if they felt compelled.
Is he continuing with his socials now? Did you inspire him?
Yeah, he is. I'm not. Look, that was a.
That was a one-time.
I'm not in the video production business. I just felt compelled to help a guy, but I hope he will. because it was obvious to him that was impactful.
Mm-hmm.
But let's quickly talk about some AI stuff in
Yes,
rapid
please.
fire fashion,
Yes,
because
please.
I think that's what I promised
Yeah.
to bring you. Look, we talked earlier about how impactful and how similar the move to nonlinear video editing was compared to what we're seeing happening with AI these days.
Yeah.
And I believe it is going to be a phenomenal change in the way media is leveraged. But the AI buzz is everywhere. Get on LinkedIn or get on any social network or talk with your friends who are in marketing in Charleston. AI.
Yeah.
The question I have always had is, okay, and the question customers have, by the way, okay, great. Love the noise. We've heard it.
Right.
How can AI actually move the needle for what I need to achieve in this marketing organization? How can AI improve my metrics?
Exactly.
How can AI generate more registrations for my webinars, actually increase attendance, actually magnify the amount of engagement during, for instance, a webinar? How can AI do all of that and potentially reduce the human intervention required to get all of the jobs done that I need to do and want to do with video, but I just don't have the resources?
Right.
These are the areas where AI is having an indelible impact, a measurable impact. So, for instance, you have a 1 hour long webinar. You've spent a lot of resources and time and money preparing for it. You do the webinar. Now what? Well, if you want to spread a recap all over social media, you're talking about a lot of hours of work for some human being. Yeah. AI can do that automatically. It literally can do it with the push of a button.
They can listen to it and download the script, that kind of thing.
And if you tell the AI, I want you to highlight these topics in your recap.
Whose AI is this? What platform? Are we talking about Kaltura's
We do it,
platform?
yeah.
Is it Kaltura platform?
So you're taking a full video, and if I say I want to take this one clip with this one quote,
Well, this right here.
You can go in there and just cut that out.
You can simply tell it, create a 3-minute synopsis that I can use as a follow-up to those people that didn't register.
That's
Right.
a time saver.
Or better, that registered but didn't attend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And just make that happen. And by the way, I want you to also promote that by spreading it, by creating a post for X, LinkedIn, Instagram.
Right.
So I'm sure
Reels.
a lot of marketing agencies are probably really utilizing you.
They're getting into it rapidly.
Yeah.
And what if you could take that video and tell the AI, I want you to create an infographic out of this webinar. I want you to create a handout. I want you to create a white paper. I want you to create a blog post.
Exactly.
By the way, I want you to do this in multiple languages. There's just things that this stuff can do that we haven't really contemplated yet. But to me, the massive impact is that it can extend your ability to do things with video beyond what your budget says you can and what your human resources say you can. Spreading your net a lot wider, creating what we call at Kaltura a flywheel effect with video that continually brings people around to you rather than having this skipping stone once in a while opportunity. The other thing it's doing is very simple stuff like translating your message into multiple output languages with a level of fidelity that is almost to where humans can do. Very close.
Yeah.
You have the ability during a webinar to gauge the sentiment of the chat that's going on.
Can your technology, like, how to take out some of the background noise or stuff? I was working with a video that my client Boston sent me, and they were outside literally by a train, and they're like, can you pull the train out of this?
Adobe Podcast.
Yep.
And
Yes.
Adobe Podcast.
Adobe Podcast.
Good for me.
AI noise reduction exists today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've tried it, in like the native platform, like TikTok and Instagram, and it was just nope.
Adobe Podcast will help you out for sure.
Okay.
But that's where AI is having an impact today. I think the future is certainly going to include things like uber realistic AI avatars that allow you to literally clone yourself. And you can type out a message and the AI will just turn it into this beautiful video message with you.
Right.
And I can't tell it's not you.
Well, that's good and bad, isn't it? I could be in the pool.
Could be. There's a lot of ethical work being done
Yes,
by
I'm sure.
the world of AI. The people that are leveraging or creating these technologies are very, very aware of the fact that they need to do this in an ethical way, in a compliant way. So this is all new territory. They're well aware that needs to be part of what they grapple with as they develop it.
That's so neat. It's wonderful and scary.
No, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. You got to embrace it, just like
I know.
our
No,
friend Sean
I think-
here has been embracing every decade, every
But
few
I
years.
think it's
is
the
new.
people that use it responsibly.
Well, 100%. That's we have to assume that we can't just
No,
we got to go with it. The internet's not being used responsibly. It's
Yeah,
like-
no, I use ChatGPT and all
I
that
used
for
it
like
yesterday
copywriting and that kind of thing.
to
But
build
I
a pitch
haven't
deck.
dabbled much in the video aspect, minus uploading videos to YouTube and taking the transcribed
Yeah, it's
wording,
amazing.
which has been really helpful. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a huge time saver. I think that I would urge people to be more open and not so distraught that they're going to quote unquote lose their jobs. For instance, in the marketing world, if you embrace the things that I've just talked about, it can augment your effectiveness as a person and potentially launch your career forward
Right.
rather than be a concern about, am I going to lose my job?
Now, someone like me,
Exactly.
so I'm a solopreneur, but I have like 12 clients. So I would come on to your platform as a business owner, kind of like I would with a Facebook business page. And could I work with lots of clients on your platform? That's so cool. I'm going to check it out when I go home.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. He's given me the back end. We've used it. It's really cool.
I'm
It's really,
excited.
really cool. Kind of wrapping this up. You don't know this, and I'm going to introduce you to them because I think that you would be a great speaker at the AI summit that's going to be happening in Somerville by our friends the Giglios
Oh, there you
from
go.
GCM.
Yeah.
I'm going to connect you guys. They're doing a boot camp AI
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
for small to medium businesses. I understand that you're government, big businesses, but I think you would bring a lot of value to this.
Happy to be involved.
And I'm going to connect you with Zach, that is, and Emma. Your daughter's name. We didn't shout out to your daughter yet. One of your family members here. What's your daughter's name?
My daughter is Aubrey,
Aubrey.
and
man.
she is the daughter of my dreams.
Oh,
Oh,
She graduated computer science at UGA and was snagged up by. She was interviewed by many companies, all of the usual suspects from Silicon Valley, and
right.
nice.
she ultimately got a fantastic offer from AT&T.
Oh, okay.
So she's worked for them in Charlotte, Atlanta, and now Dallas. She is a computer engineer. I think that's her title.
Not
she's-
in
I call her
You have
Smarty
some very
Pants.
There you
driven
go.
children.
Yes.
I call her Smarty Pants. I have a really quick story to tell about her. My only conversation with her about schoolwork. She was a teenager. I came downstairs to get ready for the day. I was pouring some coffee. She's got all these books spread out. She has a television on. She has a tablet in front of her. She has a laptop in front of her. And she's thumbing through her phone with headphones on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
And I pulled an earphone out of one side of her head and I said, honey, do you think that's really the best way to get your homework done? And she said, Daddy, have you seen my last report card? And she handed it to me and I said, touche.
There you go. Mic drop.
So this is the second best story about Aubrey. I told Aubrey a story that I had a dream with her in it one day.
Okay.
And this is my daughter's sense of humor, which I think is fantastic. I love it. I said, I had a dream that we were being attacked by aliens. And I saved you. I grabbed you off the street, and they were shooting laser beams down the street. And I ducked into a like a barn door, and saved the day. And then I woke up, and she paused for a minute, and she goes, Daddy, thank you for your service.
Quick
That's
wit.
hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Sean, it's been amazing. thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Yeah. We are going to have a coffee talk with you, but this is going to be launching after the coffee talk. So thank you for doing that. You're doing that next week, right? Doing a little program with us.
Sure.
Yeah. You talking with Kim?
No,
on
I am.
programs
I
show.
am.
Good
Yeah.
Lord.
I think that's going to be all about
Bevy
AI,
Benny.
this AI stuff.
That's right.
Nice.
There's going to be more AI content there. I don't know, Steph. Did you have a good
feel
time
like
today?
you should come up with some videos and share them on YouTube for people like me who can watch them over and over again for some of your tips. I think that would be very useful. Just
he's
as
really
if you
active on
need, as if
LinkedIn.
you need another,
Yeah, exactly. Brewing his own
hobby.
beers.
But
I try to contribute LinkedIn posts quite frequently.
Yeah, you should follow.
If you go through my activity on my profile, you'll go back years.
okay.
Some of this AI stuff has been written about in those. And I try not to be pitchy on Kaltura. I try to instead provide information that folks in the marketing, communications, and L&D world might find helpful broadly. But yeah, if you need to solve a problem.
Well, anything that makes our lives easier, I feel like is not being pitchy. I think you're just providing resources, and then you do what you will with it. And that I like the resources that you have. I think that would be a big time saver for me, and I certainly can't speak 15 languages, so that would be helpful,
right?
To be able to do that.
All of it.
I can show you a video of you speaking 15 languages if you want.
Uh-oh.
That sounds awesome. Let's do that. That sounds good.
Great to be
right.
with you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
It's been a
Sean.
pleasure.
Thanks, Sean. Before we leave, we need to thank our sponsors, the Charleston Radio Group Studios, Jerry Feels Good, and the American Marketing Association. If you want to be a sponsor or a guest on our show, reach out. And thanks to Sean for your time, man. Yeah,
My
I really,
pleasure.
really appreciate it. Good job, Steph.
Thanks for being here, bud. It was
Yep.
great to meet you. All right, Charleston, we'll see you guys next time.
Till next time, Charleston.
Bye.